moving ahead, we will start the day with the Dr. Sanjoy Mitra speaking on prescription data and patient centricity, how we are going to connect those dots. Welcome, Dr. Sanjoy Mitra. Let me just in few minutes introduce about him, a few lines just. An MBA in marketing, PhD in management sciences. Sanjoy has specialized in niche subject known as application of prescription research in strategic pharmaceutical marketing. He is the founder and managing director of Strategic Marketing Solutions and Research Center, SMSRC Private Limited. He is a passionate member of the knowledge industry and has remained associated with various academic institutes, continuously sharing his experience as a visiting faculty regularly at NMIMS University, Mumbai, teaching marketing analytics to Pharma MBA, executive MBA students. Welcome, Dr. Sanjoy, and I hand over to you to take us through this subject where we correlate prescription data with patient centricity.
Thank you, Dr. Shwati and Pharma State for arranging this program. I hope everybody can see my slides now. I will just make it full screen.
Yes.
So once again, a very good morning and happy Sankranti to all. And participants from Bangladesh, welcome to this session. Now, let me start trying to define what is patient centricity that I perceive. Patient centricity is a strategic approach that helps the doctor to prescribe the medicine or the drugs and formulations to the patient with a greater ease, over and above the efficacy of the medicine. Let me try to explain this with a simple example. Say we have a very good antibiotic, very efficacious for the pediatric patients. Now, if I take that antibiotic to the doctor with a package which is not very, child friendly, and also the taste is very bitter, even if the product is very efficacious, I don't know whether the doctors will be able to prescribe to his or her patient. At the same time, another brand of same formulation, similar molecule, goes to the same doctor and it is very tasty and the packaging, everything looks quite interesting for the patient, that means the children. Obviously, that brand is likely to get more number of prescriptions from the doctor than the previous one. So patient centricity is not something new that we have found out in recent times. It has been there, and through prescription data, we have tracked many brands, many companies, therapy areas where we have seen a particular therapy has done better post their approach to patient centricity. Now, because we are talking about patient centricity today with greater emphasis, that should not be considered that now onwards the approach should be only patient centricity and we should start forgetting the doctors. In healthcare delivery system in this subcontinent and even globally, doctors are the fulcrum. So whatever they prescribe is for the patient. And I believe, this is my personal perception, that doctors are more patient-centric than the industry as a whole. Simply because if the good doctor and not so good doctor, the differentiating factor with same level of knowledge and wisdom will be how the doctor takes care of patient's placebo effect and consoles the patient when he or she is treating that particular patient. Like many a times we visit doctors and we find that I am not personally very happy. At the same time, we go to another doctor and we find that that doctor, whatever he has said is very, soothing to my mind, and I try to follow his advice more passionately. Now that is definitely example of patient centricity. Now with this, let me start the presentation. So our homage to Professor Sanjoy Mitra, my father, founder of MRB in 1969, the first independent market research organization in India. And also he was a full professor of marketing at IIM Calcutta during mid-70s till 1983. And then finally in 1977, when he was still a professor of marketing at IIM Calcutta, he started this concept of prescription research in India with just 8 doctors. And since then, and along with, of course, the legendary Professor Tarun Gupta, who was heading marketing at Glaxo in those days. And both of them together tried to understand the behavioral sciences of doctors' prescribing behavior, to help the pharmaceutical formulation marketing companies develop strategies for building the brand character. Let us share a few basics that I have learned since my childhood days from Professor Sanjoy Mitra. He used to define business of pharmaceuticals is the business of prescription generation. I think this remains valid even today, and this will remain valid for the next generation as well, as far as the subcontinent is concerned. His definition of marketing is aspiration fulfillment, just 2 words. More I think, more I realize the value of this definition. The task of marketing is to fulfill the aspiration of the user. And when we define the user, the art and science of segmenting the user will make the product more successful or less successful. And he also used to define positioning as the way I want you to perceive me, not the way you perceive me. So the task of positioning is in the hand of the marketeer and not on the receiver. My offering, my service, my brand, the brand. To achieve these goals, it is essential to periodically study and understand the behavior of the service user and continuously try to offer the service to match the aspirations of the user to create a place for the brand in the mind of the service user. So the brand doesn't reside anywhere other than the mind of the user. So that's the space that we need to create effectively in the mind of the service user. Referring to the pharma context, the primary objective of the doctor is to provide relief to the patient. Whatever may be the knowledge of the doctor and qualification and all that, we know in India, there are many rural areas, even in urban areas, less qualified doctor or not formally qualified prescribers, medical practitioners, provides relief to his or her patients continuously and very effectively. So the purpose of the doctor is to convert that disease to ease, delete that dis before the ease, and get the patient into ease state. RX is the tool to deliver this task. The doctor, whatever he or she writes on the prescription, that acts as a tool to delete that dis before the ease, and the patient once gets that ease, he or she is happy and the purpose is served. The strength of the pharma brand depends on the level of conviction of the prescribers, which gets reflected in the prescription of the doctor. So a prescription is the reflection, like a mirror, of what the doctor was thinking at that particular point of time while giving relief to the patient. Therefore, periodical and systematic study of the doctor's prescription behavior helps in understanding what the doctors are looking for or aspiring for while offering healthcare to their patients. It helps pharma companies to offer continuously augmented service to doctors for better patient outcomes through increasing patient compliance. This word patient compliance is directly related to patient centricity. The objective of the patient centricity is to achieve greater patient compliance. If the patient compliance is less, even if the doctor's prescription is correct for the disease, technically, it might not provide good quality of ease from the disease state and improve disease management. So it's a progressive science. Every day one tries to do it better than the previous day. So this is all about, as I understand, for patient centricity. Now the objective of this presentation, we would like to cover a few live examples, which has happened way back in 1980s, and it is still continuing. And let's see how prescription data reflects those reality when the particular company has taken this patient centricity approach while trying to build their brand. One of the best examples that I can think of is definitely asthma management, then and today. When I refer to that past, I'm referring to 2011, but it started since 1988 or mid-80s. So even those days, industry was patient-centric. And now, 2022, as per SMSRC strategic prescription research data, as we call short form, SPR data analytics, amongst chest specialists, the key doctor segment for this disease management, which is asthma, during 2010 or 11, out of 100 asthma prescriptions collected on our panel, oral asthma therapy, which includes solids and liquids, featured in 70% RX as against inhalation, which is dry powder inhalation and metered dose inhalation put together, were only on 30% prescription. If I go back 2003 or around 2002, when I had the first opportunity to interact with this company, the percentage was even lower. At that time, it was 20% for inhalation therapy and 80% for DPI, MDI put together. At present, when we are in 2022 and 2023, orals are 60% and inhalation, DPI, MDI put together is 40%. Apparently, it appears there is a shift only by 10%, but this is within our methodology where we collect same number of prescriptions from same set of doctors over a period of time. So within a static universe, this 10% shift is a massive shift. And the total asthma market has grown by 57 to 60% over the last 12 years within this same methodology. That means in reality, the asthma market in terms of sales, not value, unit sales, it must have grown by at least 4 to 5 times during this last 12 years. So the point that we need to discuss in the next few slides, how did this change from oral to inhalation therapy got initiated? The journey began during the late 1980s and still continuing. So let's see 2 examples. Of course, when I talk about asthma management in the country, I have to talk about the leader company, Cipla, not for any other purpose, just to explain the case study. Cipla launched Asthalin dry powder inhalation, DPI, in 1988, around 1988. I was thinking that it was launched slightly earlier, but anyways, the published data shows that it was launched in 1988, and appointed paramedics. They didn't launch and immediately appointed paramedics outside the chest specialist chamber. They launched it, they took it to the chest specialists who are the best segment for treating asthma, but chest specialists were not able to prescribe Asthalin simply because it was not working. Why it was not working? Because when the patients were given this prescription, they were gulping this medicine and they were not able to really use the medicine and make it effective in their lungs. So therefore, the challenge was how to make the patient use the medicine effectively, scientifically. So that is why, and it was impossible for the chest specialist to spend time to teach every single patient how to take it and how to make it effective. So to facilitate that, this company appointed paramedics sitting outside the chamber of the chest specialist. And whenever a chest specialist used to prescribe this drug, the doctor used to say, "You, while going, please meet this particular person and he will explain how to use this therapy." And Cipla also similarly at that time invented this dry powder inhalation. They launched the MDI, but MDI was not working because patients were not accepting. And even if they were trying to take it, they had a lot of issues, like a lot of taboos that this is the last resort, it should not be taken. Then normally patients at that point of time were used to swallow capsules. So therefore they formed the DPI capsules, which were similar like oral capsules, and patented this device, invented this device where the capsule has to be put and simply pull and suck the medicine, and patient will feel that instead of swallowing a capsule, they are inhaling the capsule dry powder. Though technically dry powder was not medically the best, MDI was better, but still during the initial days in our country, if I remember correctly, the dry powder inhalation was much ahead of MDI. So today it has changed. So that is how Cipla started educating the patient one by one in all chest specialist or renowned chest specialist chamber. And that is how the shift from oral treatment of asthma started moving towards DPI and MDI. Despite the fact that scientifically metered dose inhalation is more suitable than DPI, during the initial years, DPI became more popular than MDI in India due to Cipla's patient education and assistance. As a result of this patient-centric activities, Cipla not only helped the doctors to treat their patients better, at the same time ensured greater patient compliance. So I'm sure those who are attending this session would appreciate that patient centricity started way back in 1980s. Even recently, let's give a recent example. Just last year it has happened. Cipla launched Syncrobit. This is the photograph of the brand, and Syncrobit is a technology which they have launched in almost for all the leading brands of asthma inhalation. It's a breath actuated inhaler which helps overcome the coordination issues associated with the regular MDIs. Those who are aware will know that MDI, you need to coordinate or you need to use a pacer or something like that to get the medicine effectively inhaled. The simplicity of steps and usage makes it easy to use, and the design adds to the portability as well. So this is yet another example of recent patient-centric approach, and prescription data reflects that these Syncrobit type of therapies or medicines in asthma is getting great momentum and getting acceptance by the doctor and the patients. Why doctors are prescribing this? Because this becomes very simple and easy for the patient to use, and the efficacy of the medicine improves. Outcome, asthma management becoming increasingly more scientific, oral to inhalation through innovative patient-centric marketing strategies. As a consequence of business outcome, the marketeer continues to maintain an undisputed leadership status in asthma therapy. To be more precise, a couple of years back, the market share of this company in, if you can keep the microphone mute, please. There is a lot of background noise. Dr. Swati.
Done, sir.
Yeah, thank you. So earlier, the market share of this company in inhalation market used to be around 60 to 65%. When I'm talking to you at this point of time, the market share has further increased to 72% out of 100 prescriptions of asthma. So look at this. India, we say that it's highly cluttered market, highly competitive. Even in this field, so many leading companies has made so many entries and experimented. There are existing competition, but still the leader continues to innovate and remain patient-centric to help the doctors to prescribe certain therapies which will help the patient to take and consume it much easier. Next case, if we try to recollect DPP4, the next speaker, Sanjeev, will correct me if I miss out any important point. But this is what I experienced in 2005 when Januvia was launched by MSD. And that was one of the early start of DPP4 in our market. Let's see how it becomes patient-centric. Today, when we look at these data, out of 100 prescriptions of anti-diabetic by therapy areas, DPP4 alone gets 22%. Then SGLT2 and combinations with DPP4 and others, they get 9%. And the newer combination of DPP4 SGLT2, which has just started its initiation, that gets another 3%. So we can say that 22 plus 3, 25% goes to DPP4 over a period of time from almost zero base. And then we have classified rest of the therapies of OAD as conventional OAD, which used to be 100% before 2005, other than insulin, I'm at 90%. And now that has shrunk to 56%. When I'm saying that conventional therapies have shrunk to 56%, that doesn't mean that it is not growing. Even conventional therapies in our country is continuously progressing, particularly the leading molecules like glimepiride, metformin, and all. Insulin remains at 10% to 11% level throughout last 6 years. Diabetes is a progressive disease and has been growing rapidly. We all know we don't need to share any data to prove that at what rate diabetes is growing, both in terms of units and value. DPP4 was launched in 2005 in India. It developed in developed countries, as I was told. I don't study the developed countries' prescription behavior, so I don't have any data, but as I was told, DPP4 is mostly at that time used as the first-line therapy. The conventional therapies are pretty less there, recommended as twice a daily dose. At that time of introduction of DPP4, the challenge was how to offer DPP4. Approximate price was 40 rupees per tablet, as against the leading conventional therapy, glimepiride, 8 rupees or less than 8 rupees per tablet. The cost of conventional therapies were pretty less. So therefore, the challenge was how can we replace 5 times more higher price therapy with an 1/5 price therapy, which is being used by every diabetologist and every doctor who uses this therapy. How to convince the doctor and the patient to adopt this relatively more effective DPP-4 therapy despite high cost. So patient centricity can also address the affordability factor. This is a case study which talks about that. So the most interesting thing, initially and even today, DPP-4 in India is once a day. Look at these numbers. Overall SPR, all specialty put together, 85 to 86% is once a day. BD dose is only 16%. And amongst diabetologists, the key segment, it is even higher, more than 90% are once a day. Whereas internationally, as I was told, that it is BD, twice a day, and first-line therapy. So this directly hints at that DPP-4 in our country is not considered as a first-line therapy, at least during the start and even today, largely. Though there are some occasions when one would see that DPP-4 has become first-line therapy after so many years. So the story is DPP-4 used as add-on therapy. Out of total RX of DPP-4 as 100, 71% RX are co-RXed with conventional therapy. So if you pick up randomly any prescription of DPP-4, we will definitely find, and in diabetologists it is 85%. So we will definitely find there are other conventional therapies as well. So it's an add-on. So how this has happened? What was the strategy behind this to make the patient consider this as an affordable therapy, which was unaffordable and the price was 5 times? Globally, DPP-4 is prescribed as the first-line therapy of treatment, as I said just now. During the launch of sitagliptin in 2005, MSD planned a strategy not to directly go head-on against the conventional OAD and try to replace. Most of the time in pharma industry, this is what we like to do when we launch a new therapy or a new brand. We try to define the existing market. And how do we define the existing market? Either the same therapy or the therapies which are used by the doctors in the same disease. And then define that market size and try to calculate and decide how can we get a grab or a piece of the existing red ocean. In most of those cases, we find the brand struggles and it doesn't get built as a unique brand and creates a place in the mind of the prescriber or in the mind of the patient. So instead of doing that and going head on, MSD explained to the doctors and to set a goal of diabetes treatment for regulation and control of HbA1c less than equal to 7. So the whole paradigm changed from acute management of PP and fasting sugar control to a long-term chronic management of HbA1c. By adding DPP-4 once a day as a co-RX medicine with the existing OAD therapies to those patients who have HbA1c who were not getting regulated with the conventional OAD therapy. So 2 points actually, instead of me reading the entire slide, let me just quickly explain. 2 points they were trying to convince to the doctor or communicate to the doctor. One is, it's expensive, but you don't need to dislodge the existing therapy and write this to get the desired result. If the patient HbA1c is not getting regulated with the current therapy regime that you are prescribing, think of adding this to achieve this goal of HbA1c less than equal to 7. And secondly, this is likely to give a benefit to the patient to delay the insulin pricks. So one was fear of getting insulin if we don't add DPP-4, and the other was to maintain the HbA1c level less than equal to 7. Both worked, and therefore the diabetologist started, and followed by diabetologists, the other segments like CPs, cardiologists, GPs. Today, we know the story. DPP-4 is one of the largest market in our country. The case study 3, pediatricians, probiotic perceptual profile, management of loose motion and diarrhea. This case study was conducted by our associate company, MedClean Research, which was formed in 1996 and has been doing a lot of clinical trials across different therapy areas in the country, multi-center clinical trials. Dr. Manjuri is present, I believe, in this forum, and I picked up this case study from her. She is a practicing pediatrician attached to ICH in the Institute of Childhood in Calcutta, and also a director at SMSRC. So MedClean Research conducted a clinical trial to find out the efficacy of probiotics in acute diarrhea and loose motion. I'm sure we all will agree, most of the cases we find, even for pediatric patient, the doctor prescribes antibiotics. Now, of course, if it is a dysentery with fever and all, antibiotics are required. I'm not saying doctors are doing wrong practice. What I'm trying to say is, once they did this study of probiotics usage in loose motion and diarrhea, and what they found out that in most cases, the subjects were receiving antibiotics on the very first day, without even finding out whether this particular loose motion case is a dysentery and it requires anti-infectives, where most of the childhood diarrhea and loose motion is caused due to viral infections and not bacterial infections. In such cases where the subjects who receive probiotics within 24 hours from the onset of diarrhea and loose motion showed significant reduction in duration and frequency of loose motion. This particular study did show that in Indian children, if probiotics are used promptly as the onset of diarrhea loose motion starts, there is no need to use anti-infective at all. Now, this is a scientific way of becoming patient-centric through the doctor. It is not directly related to patient, or we are not directly going and telling the patient, don't take antibiotics, take only probiotic, but educating the doctor to become more patient-friendly, particularly the pediatric patients, so that they do not get resistant organism. If the baby starts taking antibiotic from the very childhood stage, the baby is likely to get resistant to various organisms, and therefore it is not so much indicated. Marketing of probiotics through such CT and evidence is a better tool to create conviction amongst the doctors to treat loose motion in pediatric patients and avoid overuse of antibiotics amongst children. There are pediatric seminars which are being conducted to educate the doctors to use less antibiotics, and we all know that in India, the usage of antibiotics in pediatric patients is quite large, and even in Bangladesh, I see the same thing from our data. Whereas this same probiotic internationally is recommended for ADD, antibiotic-associated diarrhea. In our country, antibiotic-associated diarrhea is taken care by lactobacillus, not so much by probiotics. And this is one of the reasons why the probiotics market is highly skewed towards pediatric usage. Even the latest Ramonasus and all, they are highly skewed towards pediatric usage. While talking about this one, immediately one case comes to my mind. There are two unique brands in probiotics. One is Sanofi's Enterogermina, the other is Econom. Econom started the journey since American Remedies days. Both are very strong in pediatric patients, for pediatric patients. But if you go to the neonatology use of probiotics, we will find that Enterogermina has a greater market share than Econom. Reason, application of or use of Enterogermina is easier form and more patient-centric than Econom sachet, because it's a liquid water type, and dispensing that to the pediatric neonatology patient is much easier. So this is yet another example of patient centricity, and probiotic has been there for quite some time in our country. The last case study, medicine, today is the era of digital world, and there are so many facilities, like we are conducting this seminar, conference or seminar over Zoom. So since COVID days, we have started using these services much more. We have acquired stakes in one of the companies who creates digital platforms for the company in even before COVID, 2018-19. The name of the company is Synergies, and the tool that they have been marketing is MedSign. Along with the help of leading companies in the industry, we have already started delivering this tool to various doctors segments, and we collect data through this tool as well. Now, this particular tool, why the doctors are accepting this tool, though the progress is very slow, but those who are getting addicted to this tool, are habituated to this tool, they are even now post-COVID era using this tool during the physical examination of their patient. One such attribute of this tool or this particular patient management software is it allows the doctor to show and demonstrate how the patient's disease has been managed since the doctor started treating the particular patient, how the patient's disease is getting controlled over a period of time. So if the patient is compliant to the therapy, it is likely to give better benefit. Now, say I am a diabetologist using this tool and I am treating a patient for last 3 years or 4 years or certain period of time. Now, when the patient comes for a repeat visit checkup, I can show him or her with all the records, including the laboratory test records, which can be, preserved in this tool for that particular doctor, and he or she can demonstrate to the patient, this is the progress of your disease management, which definitely helps the patient to get more convinced for the treatment prescribed by the doctor. And this helps the patient also to get greater compliance for the treatment that the doctor is suggesting. So such kind of digital platform can definitely be used as a tool for greater patient centricity. There are many similar case studies. I think if we start discussing those case studies, we will not have much time for the day. So let me not take you through all. Quick reference to few interesting case studies that I have personally seen, observed. Rituximab 2005 was launched by Roche in India, 1 lakh rupees per vial, and helped the patient to receive bank loans for financing and that anti-cancer expensive therapy for specific use was for non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Finasteride, Shankar Das is there, so he will correct me. Finasteride was launched by Dr. Reddy's and was the first therapy to cure or to treat BPH. That time there were urologists, but they were not getting patients to treat BPH. So Dr. Reddy's published an advertisement showing a bottle with a cap fixed to it and half-filled bottle, and the water is dropping, not flowing out smoothly. So they published such kind of ads in the newspaper, local newspaper, and said, anybody having similar kind of problem during urination, please contact this number, a call center type number, which was Dr. Reddy's number and Dr. Reddy's organization's number. And then the patient was getting connected to the nearby urologist so that his problem can be treated and addressed. So there are similar such case studies of patient centricity. All these case studies demonstrate, and so after that, we know what happened to finasteride, and even today, finasteride is one of the best co-prescriptive therapy along with the primary urological products like silodosin, tamsulosin, and all. All these case studies demonstrate the significance of developing patient-centric marketing strategies, better healthcare delivery, and the effects can be periodically studied through RX data analytics. So what we do when we look at the strategies of different brands and look at our prescription outcomes, we can directly correlate how they are linked. And that's the advantage of looking at continuous prescriptions analysis over a period of time. I think I'm through. And Dr. Swati, I'm sure I'm within time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Sanjay, for this presentation. It's a detailed presentation, and
there is a chat box question that what is PAE? PAE is short form of pediatrician. Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Sanjay.